Today in this video, we are going to learn about Dunning configuration steps and also the questions related to Dunning which comes in certification examination. So let us start without any delay. So as we all know, the Dunning process is used to remind customers and sometimes suppliers that have a debit balance to pay their overdue open items. The reminders sent out can become progressively strict and carry a late payment penalty. So, the Dunning with SAP S4 HANA is a rule-based automated process controlled Dunning configuration and execution. So as we all know that we use Dunning to send the reminder letters mainly for customers, only sometimes for suppliers if they have any debit balance. So the Dunning is used to send letters to remind customers that they need to make their payments. So in SAP we have maximum of 9 Dunning levels. We can send Dunning letters to the customers 9 times. That is the maximum level. So as per the customer or client requirement, we can define the Dunning configuration. Let us move on and check the different configuration steps. So the basic configuration for Dunning includes 3 steps. That is, define Dunning areas, define Dunning keys, define Dunning block reasons. So let us see what are all these 3 steps includes. So Dunning area. So Dunning area defines Dunning areas are used to subdivide a company into more areas responsible for Dunning. As we see in the screenshot, we can see that we have divided the company code into retail and wholesale. So for the retail purpose, we use one kind of Dunning area, and for the wholesale purpose, we are using other kind of Dunning area for easy segregation. Okay, these are optional. It is not necessary that it is mandatory to define Dunning areas. It is actually optional, and if we don't define them, the whole company code is treated as single Dunning area. And if we see Dunning keys, we define Dunning keys and assign them directly to the line items for 2 reasons. So one reason is to restrict the Dunning level of that particular line item, so that the item will be done up to the level indicated here, and also to output that item separately in a Dunning notice. So if we see in the configuration step, the Dunning key 1 has a maximum level of 1. So when we use this Dunning key, it will send the Dunning letter only once, or it will include in the Dunning run only one time. So if we use Dunning key 2 or 3, like as mentioned here, the maximum level for Dunning key 2 is 2 levels and for 3 is 3 levels. And also we have another option showing print separately. So we can print it separately. So triggers maximum Dunning level 1. It will done as per the number mentioned in the maximum level. That is the purpose of the dunning key. Normally these dunning keys are directly assigned in the line item of the document. Now dunning block reasons. If we see, we have many block reasons. So like disputed, promised to pay, C is for to clarified with sales department. There are many different reasons why we don't want to include the line item in the dunning, because it is not actually a late payment. That line item has some issues already going on, which is already taken care by the sales department, or some dispute cases, or already they have raised it to the legal department. There are many different reasons. So based on that reasons, the line items are blocked. Items blocked for dunning aren't considered for dunning when you execute a dunning run. You define various dunning block reasons to classify the item blocks and use them as filtering characteristics in reports. So we don't show that these are the due open items, because these were already addressed by other departments. So for that reason we use dunning block reasons. So this also we assign it at line item level of the document. So here in the next step we see how we are going to maintain the dunning procedure. So this dunning procedure we normally assign it in the business partner master record. So dunning procedure, as we can see here, it is a 4-digit alphanumeric code. So the dunning procedure is the main customizing object for dunning. It is maintained at client level and assigned to partners. So this is created at client level. So the screen, when we try to configure the dunning procedure, the screen pops up like this. So you can see the dunning procedure is maintained as a 4-digit alphanumeric code, and we give the description and we update the data. See here, the main thing is dunning interval in days. For how many days we need to do the dunning, number of dunning levels. So we are going to do 4 dunning levels. Total due items from dunning level. So total due items from dunning level means, so whatever might be that dunning level, it will total all the due items. So total due items per dunning level. So here we mentioned as 3. So from this level it will total all the due items related to that particular business partner. Minimum days in arrears. So it is account. So it will check, even though it is the line item is overdue, the minimum days they given for that particular account is 6 days. Even after 6 days they don't pay, and the next day if they are running the dunning, the account will get included in the dunning. So they will give minimum period of 6 days. So even for each line item they are going to give 2 days of grace period, and after that if they don't see any payment is made, they will send a first dunning letter to that particular customer. Interest indicator, standard limit interest indicator. So interest indicator we will mention it here, and also I think we can assign it in the master record. And if both the interest indicators are maintained in both places, like in dunning procedure and also in the master record, here we can see ignore interest indicator in master record. If we check this box, it will ignore that interest indicator and it will proceed with this interest indicator. So all the calculations which are maintained based on this interest indicator will be calculated for these overdue items. So even public holiday calendar we have assigned here, and standard transaction dunning, and also we will done special GL transactions and dunning even for credit account balance. So these are all the different parameters and different settings we will configure for dunning procedure. And for text we can even use reference dunning procedure. So once we are done with configuring dunning procedure, we move on to the next level, dunning levels. So in order to maintain dunning level maintenance, we can see here we will be maintaining to the dunning procedure. So for the dunning procedure, for this dunning procedure, we are maintaining 4 dunning levels and specifying the first dunning level days in arrears is 2, and the second dunning level is after 14 days, and third dunning level is again after 14 days of the second dunning level, and the fourth dunning level is again 14 days after the 30 days of the dunning level. So if we see in the dunning interval in days, we can see we are maintaining the dunning interval as 14 days. So the same thing we are following here. So for calculate interest, for the first and second dunning level we don't calculate the interest. From third dunning level we are going to calculate the interest. And in print parameters, always done. So whenever the dunning happens, we will be printing this and sending it to the customers. And print all items is nothing but we will be printing all the open items, even though they are not due, even though they are not overdue. We will be updating the dunning letter and informing the customer about the upcoming due items for their invoices. And payment deadline. So when we are issuing the dunning letter, we will tell this is the deadline date when they have to make the payment. So this 10 days will be added to the issue date. So if for example they are sending the letter on 20th of the month, the payment deadline will be 30th of that month. So we are giving 10 days to make the payment. And in the fourth dunning level, it will be just 7 days. So here the print parameters so as per the client's requirement, we are going to select this and we will be sending it to the and we are going to send to the customers all the dunning letters. So once we are done with dunning levels, we are moving to the next step, dunning texts. So how the text needs to be formatted in the dunning letter which we send to customers. So in the maintenance for the dunning text, you assign a form for each level of the dunning procedure. The editing or creation of forms in accordance with customer standards is a job that the technical consultant takes over. The form assigned defines the wording and formatting of the dunning letter you send to your customers and suppliers per dunning level. So this is the third dunning letter. You can see the format here, like since you have not reacted to our previous dunning letters, we have had to calculate interest on arrears to the amount of this much. For the item due as well as for the interest on arrears, we are now giving you a last payment period up until this date. If you do not keep this payment deadline, we will unfortunately have to apply for a court order. So this is a strong letter which was configured in the system. This is the third dunning letter. So now dunning charges. Once we assign the dunning letters, actually we will assign the form name in the configuration and once that is completed, we will configure the dunning charges. So what are the dunning charges we are going to apply for each level? So dunning charges are defined per currency. You enter the relevant charge either as a fixed amount or as a percentage rate. We don't actually fill both the fields. We enter either of the fields, whether it might be a dunning means like fixed amount, or it might be a percentage rate. So to calculate the charge when using percentage rate, the percentage rate is multiplied by the total of all overdue items in a dunning notice. Optionally, for each dunning level, you can set multiple charges depending on the minimum overdue amount. So you can set that for value up to 1000 euros, you charge a fixed 10 euros, and for values above that you charge 1%. So this configuration shows the minimum overdue amount for changing a dunning level. So again, this configuration is also per currency. In addition to the setting an absolute amount, you can also define the minimum to depend on a percentage of the total open items. So this is dunning charges. This is minimum amount. So how much amount is minimum to consider that business partner for dunning, or to consider that line item for dunning. So in addition to setting the absolute amount, you can also define the minimum percentage of the total items of the business partner per dunning area. So if this business partner reaches more than 10% of the overdue items, then that line items needs to be considered for dunning, maybe that kind of thing. So for example, you might generally consider, we will put 1000 UR for the fourth dunning level 1000 UR as a reasonable minimum amount for the 4th dunning level. But we have customer who has $1 million euros in open items, but only 1000 UR is the overdue item. So we don't normally send him an aggressive letter saying that the 1000 euros is overdue and we are going to court, and that this is an primary customer who does lots of business with the company, and just he had only 1000 euros as overdue. So for that minimum amount we don't want to send him an aggressive letter, a warning letter saying that you need to pay that payment. So for those kind of things we can use no red. The system will leave a partner in the higher level even if the minimum amount is no longer reached. So as an additional configuration we can set the separate minimum amount for calculating charges based on percentages. We select which kind of special general ledger indicators are valid for dunning procedure by selecting them out from the complete list of indicators available. So here we selected down payment requests for customers and vendors, and company code settings for dunning control. So in the environment section of the dunning procedure definition, you maintain the dunning settings per company code. So how we are planning to do the dunning per company code. So if we want to do by dunning area or by dunning level, separate dunning notice for each dunning level. So and also we are giving here the dunning company code and reference company code, and we are giving the sender details. And who is the sender, and sender details for vendors and sender details for customers. So this is little bit of company code logic. If we want it based on levels or based on dunning areas, we can do the configuration here. So dunning groupings. So grouping, we can group certain fields together and run the dunning based on those fields. For example, if we want to run the dunning on a customer and group all the line items related to a purchase order, so we can specify those two fields, one customer and one purchase order. So let us see the example. The final setting for dunning concerns dunning groupings. You define a 2-digit code and description together up to 2 document fields for grouping. The system will group dunning notices that share the same values in the fields defined. If the dunning notice have the same WBS element, it will group all the dunning notices into one notice. You can select whether the grouping is valid for suppliers, customers, or both. Use case for grouping is to group all items that refers to the same sales order. So another example is to group dunning notices for specific projects through the WBS elements. So this is the purpose of the grouping key. So this we again assign it in the master business partner master record. So now let us see, we have configured all the dunning related configuration, and now we are going to assign the dunning procedure in the business partner master record. So in the customer correspondence, we will assign the dunning procedure. If we have any dunning block reasons, we can assign it here, and once the dunning is done, dunning is processed, we can see the last dunning notice. If you have any legal dunning procedure, we can assign it here. Dunning level will be automatically updated. Who is the dunning clerk? Grouping key. Just now whatever we have discussed. For grouping, this dunning grouping, we will assign this grouping key here in the master record. So what are the fields we update in the business partner master record? If we have that question, we can say we will assign dunning procedure, dunning clerk, grouping key, and dunning block. And also, as we discussed, we can also enter the dunning key and dunning block. In the line item of the document. So what does it do? It will, dunning key defines up to which maximum level this line item needs to be done, and also whether dunning block will specify whether this line item needs to be included in the dunning or not. So now we are ready to do the dunning run. So we complete the dunning run by executing the following steps. So we enter the selection parameters for open items to be evaluated. So first we give the run on date and identification to identify this dunning run, and dunning date, the date of dunning which will be printed on the dunning notices and form the basis for calculating days in arrears. Document posted up to. This helps the system use this date as a cutoff date for selecting items. The system will evaluate the document dates of the documents. So company codes and the accounts, and we are going to schedule the dunning run. The system will evaluate all the relevant items and provide a dunning proposal. So based on these parameters, we will get the dunning proposal, and if required, the accounts receivable accountants will evaluate the proposal lists of the dunning notices and the levels assigned to each item and so on. And if they want to edit any of the things in the proposal, they will edit and delete that proposal and rerun the proposal. And once they do that, and then they will send the dunning notices to the customers. The dunning notices will be printed as per the configuration and will be sent to the customers or vendor based on the correspondence address maintained in the vendor master data. So with this we completed all the configuration and execution of dunning run. Now we see few of the certification related questions which will be helpful to us to answer the dunning related questions in the certification exam. So on what level do you assign dunning areas? Do you remember we discussed that as we create dunning areas at company code level. So it's not client, it's not functional area and segment. Dunning areas are used to subdivide company codes into areas of responsibility for dunning. So the answer is the company code where you assign this. Dunning areas might well reflect either segments or functional area, but there is no system connection or assignment between these. So next question. When assigning dunning charges to a dunning procedure, what options do you have? There are two correct answers. So this hint even they provide in certification exam. So it is of 50-50 chance. They already given us the hint that there are two answers. So we need to check. To assign a fixed amount without assigning a dunning charge percentage. To assign a fixed amount and a percentage, the system posts the larger amount. No. To assign a fixed amount and a percentage, the system posts the smaller of the two amounts. No. To assign a dunning charge percentage without assigning a fixed amount. So we have discussed we can assign either an absolute value for the dunning charge or a percentage which is calculated of the total amount of the overdue items. You can't select both. You enter the charges per level and per outstanding amount. So that is where you can differentiate the charges assigned. We'll assign a fixed amount. But we discussed step discussed that when we give the fixed amount and the percentage, we never discuss it that it will take the larger amount or it will take the smaller amount. So the only options which are reliable to this is fixed amount, and otherwise it should be a percentage. So and in one of the example even we discussed both can be maintained, like if it is a minimum amount till this amount the fixed this should be the fixed charge, and if it is above that amount it should calculate the percentage. So it will be only either of that. So if it is 1000 EUR, we decided that the minimum charge will be 10. If it is more than that, let me show you the thing which we discussed. So even for each dunning level, you can set multiple charges depending on the minimum overdue amount. Multiple charges. For example, you can set that for values up to 1000 UR, you charge a fixed 10 UR, and for values above that, you charge 1%. So it is like maybe it will take either of that, not the both. Actually, what I understood it, what I understand is so for 1000 UR it will take 10 UR, and whatever the amount exceeded above 1000 UR, it will charge 1%. But I think it will just take either of the amount, whether it might be a fixed amount or it will be a percentage. So if it is $1,500, I think it will charge 1%, like $15, not 10 plus for 500 one, maybe. So it will might be the same, but it seems it will calculate either the percentage or the fixed amount. So now we will move on to the next question. Which of the following objects are relevant to the Dunning program configuration? So when we are doing the steps of Dunning procedure configuration, we have seen we have configured minimum amounts, Dunning levels, and even expenses surcharges. We nowhere selected any bank selection. So these are the three which are correct. There are 4 Dunning program steps that can be performed during the automatic Dunning procedure. So arrange these steps into correct sequence. So first what actually we did is we maintained the parameters. I think first we schedule the Dunning run, maintain the parameters, change the Dunning proposal, and start the Dunning printout. First you maintain the, then change the Dunning proposal and start the Dunning printout. I think this is the sequence. So what is the maximum Dunning level that can be assigned to a Dunning procedure? So the maximum levels are, what I understood is 9. Which of the following list supports the Dunning clerk's work? So Dunning clerk, what does he do? So that is the list of vendor balances in local currency is not his work. So as they said, there are 3 correct answers. We can blindly select all other 3, but before selecting we need to check. It definitely prepares the Dunning list and the Dunning history list, the blocked accounts list, right? So what Dunning related data do you maintain on the business partner master record? So we maintain Dunning procedure, we maintain Dunning block, and we maintain the grouping key. Dunning interval is maintained in the Dunning procedure, and even Dunning area is updated in Dunning area we have created to the company code. Which parameter indicates that a line item can only be done with restrictions? So Dunning key. So Dunning key specifies the maximum dunning level which the line item will be done. You want to edit a dunning proposal. What actions can you perform to edit a dunning proposal? We can block an account, we can block a line item, we can lower the dunning level of an item, and we don't change the dunning data of an item, or we can change the document. So A, C and D. Which tasks are stages of dunning execution? Schedule the dunning run, maintain the dunning parameters, maintain the dunning level, schedule the dunning interval is not part of dunning execution. The dunning run is made up of 3 main steps that happen in a particular sequence. So first we do the account selection, then we will done the account, and in that account we will done the line items. So these are the few questions which I found useful related to this dunning topic. If you have any more idea or any more questions related to the dunning, please update in the comments. Thank you for watching this video. If you have anything to share, please update in the comments. Thank you so much.